What if you were a monster, a killer, a king, and you had one last act, not of violence, but of kindness? Meet Sandro Volpe. To the world, a Mafia don, a predator, a man with a ledger soaked in blood. But in his own mind, in his final days, he's just a father, a grieving father, eaten alive by cancer, with only one thing left to do: avenge his daughter. But what if that kindness was a lie? What if this one final, loving act of revenge wasn't for his daughter at all? What if it was just a desperate, selfish performance to hide the fact that he was the one who got her killed? Sandro's penthouse was a tomb, a fortress hospital where a king was rotting on his throne. He was a lion, brought low by disease, and his rivals, the Matarazzo family, were circling. They were the ones who had murdered his daughter Dahlia, an easy, symbolic hit to wound the king. Now, his own captains were traitors, just waiting for the old man to die. But Sandro didn't care about his empire. He cared about the framed photo on his desk. He'd cough, a spray of blood hitting a silk handkerchief, and he'd speak to the photo with a gentleness his men had never, ever heard. "Dahlia, my light. They think I'm weak. They don't know my strength, my love for you. I'll burn the world down, Bambina. I promise you." This was the new Sandro, the grieving father. It was touching. But if you look closer, you'd see the lie. You'd see that when he looked at that photo, his jaw would lock, his knuckles would turn white, and he'd flinch. Not from the pain in his lungs, he'd flinch from the photo. As if the girl in the frame was accusing him, as if she knew. This wasn't just grief, it was something else, something rotting from the inside out. He was running out of time. He needed a miracle. He needed a weapon. And then she arrived. She didn't come through the front door. She didn't have an appointment. She came through the service entrance. Sandro's best guards, men who had killed for him, were on the floor of his lobby, disarmed, groaning, and humiliated. And there she was, Imani Adebayo, a ghost, a professional. She didn't look like his men. She didn't look like anyone in his world. She walked past the guards, her face a mask of cold competence. "Don Volpe, your security is a joke." She walked right up to his desk, dropped a file. It slid open. Sandro looked at it. It was a dossier on the Matarazzos, their habits, their safe houses, their routines. It was perfect, better than his own. "You're dying, you're weak, your men are traitors. But I want what you want. You have the access. I am the weapon." Sandro laughed, a rattling, wet cough. He looked at the photo of his daughter, then back at this woman. It was a sign. His kind father's eyes lit up. "You are remarkable. You want money? You want my seat? I want them, the Matarazzos. The rest is just payment." And then the kind, grieving father made the most insane proposal of his life. A contract. No, a marriage. Imani's professional mask didn't even twitch. "As my wife, you are my proxy, my voice, my heir. No one, not my captains, not the law, can question your orders. Marry me, Imani. Avenge my daughter, and you keep it all." It was the perfect trap. A dying man's brilliant, desperate move to ensure his revenge. The contract was signed, the lawyers left, the guards were dismissed. It was just them. Him, in his chair. Her, standing by the window. The new Signora Volpe. She was the weapon. He was the mind. The hunt could begin. She turns to him. "Our first move?" And in that second, the kindness vanished. The grieving father was gone. The soft, watery eyes turned to cold, black stone. The monster he'd been hiding finally looked up at her. "So, you came back." Imani freezes. Her blood turns to ice. That one sentence. It changes everything. This wasn't a job interview. This wasn't a chance meeting. It was a summons. And she had just walked, willingly, into the cage of the one man in the world who knew her real secret. It leaves you with one question. We've all told lies to protect ourselves. But have you ever told a lie so big you'd be willing to burn the whole world down just to make it true? So, you came back. That one sentence changes everything. This wasn't a job interview. This wasn't a contract. This was a reckoning. You see, Imani Adebayo wasn't just a bodyguard. She was the bodyguard. She wasn't just Dalia Volpe's protector. She was the woman Dalia loved. And Alessandro Sandro Volpe was the man who had torn them apart. His kind, grieving father routine? It was a mask. His chance meeting. A trap. His contract. A cage. He hadn't hired a stranger. He had summoned a ghost. And now, the two people on Earth who shared the real, dark secret of Dalia's death were locked in a penthouse together. Their marriage was a cold war. A cage with two predators. Sandro was her jailer. She was his weapon. They began the hunt. And God help the Matarazzos. They were terrifying. He'd play the kind, grieving father luring a target in. My poor daughter, I just want justice. And Imani would be the one to spring the trap. A shadow, a blade, an ending. But this wasn't about the hunt. It was about the moments in between. The romance wasn't in kisses. It was in shared rage. It was in the quiet. Sandro, collapsing from a coughing fit, blood on his lips, looking pathetic. And Imani, the only one in the room who didn't flinch. The only one who could handle him. She'd cleaned the blood from his face, her touch professional, but her eyes, burning with a hate so deep, it looked like love. And he would watch her, not as a boss, not as a jailer, but as something else. One night, in a morphine haze, he confessed his smallest, truest sin. I missed her birthday, bought her a ring. I never gave it to her. He shows it to Imani, a simple, elegant band. And Imani's mask cracks. She recognizes it. It's the ring Dalia had cried about. The ring her loving father had refused to give her, after he'd called her love for Imani a sickness. This was the leverage. You thought Sandro was a grieving father? You thought this was about love? You were wrong. Imani used his resources, his network. She didn't just want the Matarazzos. She wanted the truth. And she found it. A security file Sandro thought he'd buried. A bank statement. She storms into his study. No knock. You didn't just disown her. She throws the papers on his desk. You froze her accounts. You took her security detail. You threw her on the street with nothing in the middle of Matarazzo territory. You didn't just let her die. You set the table. And there it was. The real Alessandro Volpe. The kindness shatters. The grief evaporates. And the monster, the real one, finally confesses. Yes, I did. She was a disgrace. She chose you over me, over this family. I told her she was dead to me. I left her with nothing. This wasn't grief. This was guilt. This whole revenge fantasy. It wasn't for Dalia. It was for him. His last, desperate, selfish act to wash the blood from his own hands. And now, Imani knew. The weapon was now holding the gun to his head. So what do you do when your whole world is a lie? What do you do when the one person you need to trust is the one person who knows you're a fraud? The air in the room is gone. It's just two people, bound by the ghost of the woman they both loved, and one of them had destroyed. The original contract is ash. Imani steps closer. The hatred is gone. All that's left is a cold, terrible, empty calm. You don't get to have this. You don't get to die. as the loving father. You die as what you are, a coward. Sandro is broken. The guilt. It's killing him faster than the cancer. What do you want? The truth. The Matarazzos. They were just dogs. They took a bite that was offered. Who offered it, Sandro? Who knew she was vulnerable? Who told them where to find her? This is the new pact. Not his revenge, hers. This is his point of no return. He can die as a monster, alone, or he can confess his final sin and help her burn the real traitor to the ground. He looks at the photo of his daughter, then at Imani, the two women he failed. It wasn't a Matarazzo. It was one of ours. He's trapped. He has to agree. This is his only path to any kind of redemption. The hunt isn't over. It's just found its real target.